Hello, on today's show we're going to go over a couple of vicious attacks on swimmers. We're going to go over an attack on a surfer. We're going to end the show with what were you thinking that involves a dead shark. We've had, land shark, we've had car shark, we've had restaurant shark. It's time to start getting into the dead shark. And we'll do that at the end of the show. I hope you stick around. It's going to be a great show. Okay, now we'll start out our show off of Mackay, which is Queensland, Australia, 9 miles off Mackay, and the date on this is November 24th of 1910. Cecil Smith, he is 9 miles offshore off Mackay with a friend, and they decide to go into the water, and they're doing some swimming. A 9-foot blue shark shows up and bites Cecil Smith's foot twice. Gives him 2 bites. His friend grabs him and takes him into shore. So they must have been at some kind of an island, because you're not going to swim 9 miles to land at Mackay. So I don't know where they were as far as how he dragged them into shore. I expected to hear he dragged them and put them back up on the boat. There's no mention of a boat, so I don't know how they ended up getting out there. You would think that they were with friends and somebody had a boat and they're on a island, sandbar, something out there where he was dragged back to. So it sounds like it probably wasn't very deep water, and a blue shark got a hold of his foot. He goes in, gets stitched up. He ends up surviving the attack. It's an attack, not an attempt to predate, by a 9-foot blue shark. And we're going to head over to Hely Beach. That's New South Wales, Australia, and the date is August 14th of 2020. Chantelle Doyle, 35 years old. She is with her husband. She is out doing some surfing. It's about 9:30 in the morning, and she sits about 15 meters from shore, so she's about 50 feet from shore, very close to shore, and she's in the shallows, sitting on her board, and all of a sudden a shark comes up, hits her board, and knocks her into the water. Then it bites on her leg. Now, her husband paddles over on his board, and witnesses say he jumped off the board onto the shark's back and started beating on the shark. One of the witnesses said the shark was big enough that it could have taken her away if it wanted to, so him jumping on the shark basically saved her. Another witness saw him take his wife, put her up on his board, and beat on the shark until it finally let go of her leg. He gets her and takes her into shore. Now, another witness had seen the shark swimming around after the fact. He said it was breaching from the water with her board in its mouth. So it was swimming around and breaching with the board in the mouth after the attack. She goes in, she has to have her leg fixed up. She has a pretty bad wound to her leg. They say this was a 6.5 foot to about a 9.5 foot great white shark. So you're talking 3 to 4 meter great white shark in that range. And that's kind of an odd one for a little guy to hold somebody and not let them go like that. I'm wondering if it was ill, if it needed a meal or something. Usually they're attacking boards like all the other great whites just to get them out of the area. It could be that what this was about, but it's hard to tell with the husband jumping on it and beating on its back and putting her up there and beating on it until it let go. It was a determined shark, so this one I'm on the fence on 100%. I would lean towards it being the normal territorial attack, so that's what I'm probably going to put this down as, but I can see where people would say, well, that shark might have been out to eat him. Might have been out to eat her, and it reminds me a lot of Hannah McGall, who was sitting on her board. She was 13 at the time, sitting on her board in just 8 feet of water, and she looks down and there's a 16-foot great white there, just looking at her. And then it goes up, bites her, and holds her underwater until, I think his name's Caleb. It was a different kind of name, but he had paddled back out because her cousin had taken a wave in. He paddled back out and he beat that shark until that shark released Hannah. So the same thing. I don't think either one of those are feeding events. I think both are territorial, and that's how that's going to go down. An attack, not an attempt to predate, by 6.5 to 9.5 feet. Okay, now we're going to head over to Detang Saleh, and that is on Reunion Island, and the date is October 14th of 2013. Gicquel Tanguy, 24 years old. He was out doing some bodyboarding, and there was other swimmers around and other boarders around him. He had himself about 20 yards from shore, 20 meters, about the same. So he's pretty close to shore, but he's 300 yards or a little bit more, so 300 meters away from a patrolled beach. So there's no patrol where he is doing his bodyboarding and the others are swimming. And he's 20 yards out. Suddenly at 4:30 in the afternoon, he is grabbed by a shark. It sounds like a very fast attack in which he loses his, I believe it's his right leg is severed. Some reports are that it was high on the thigh, and others say at the groin. So it was very high up on the leg that his leg was severed. He also lost several fingers, probably in defensive move to drive the shark off, and it sounds like help got to him very quick. The authorities, they went ahead and authorized a cull of 45 tiger and 45 bull sharks after this. I'm not sure if they went ahead and carried out the cull, but they were out to kill about 45 of each to thin the numbers and maybe try to prevent the attacks. But if you're going in the water, there's going to be attacks. I mean, there's no way around it. So killing the sharks, you know, I don't think that's going to really make a difference. How do you know you're going to get a shark that's going to bite a person? I just think that there's weird circumstances that add up to where people are bitten, and it's really hard to tell what shark's going to end up doing that, because sharks are sharks, and sharks are going to have good days, sharks are going to have bad days. And if you have a shark, like a large shark, that has bad days over and over, catching its normal prey, that's when you got to worry, I think, about a shark turning on you and going for something that they know. I think sharks, the large sharks we deal with, the big three, know that we're not a really, you know, ideal source for energy because we're too bony. I think they know this, and we're just like an alternative. You know, and tiger sharks are just a problem because they'll just take a bite just to do it. So that's our attack on Gicquel. You know, we're going to head over to Bocan Canoe, still at Reunion Island, and the date on this is August 27th of 2016. Laurent Chardard. He is 21 years old, and he was out in the water. He was doing some swimming. He was around other bathers, and suddenly he's attacked by a shark. When the rescuers got out to him, they noticed he had a limb missing, and he had told them, "Just leave me." His right arm was severed at the shoulder. One of his feet was badly bitten, and I believe they had to go ahead and amputate his foot because of that. But he does survive this attack. They get him and they bring him in, and he gets the help that he needs. And I believe that there was 24,000 euros raised pretty quick to help him out with his hospital bills and his recovery. Back in 2015, Laurent had ended up rescuing a drowning victim, so he actually saved somebody. I don't know where it ended up happening, but it's mentioned that he ended up saving somebody the year before. So it's nice that the community got together and, you know, raised all that money to help him out, to get him his prosthetic arm, I'm sure, and probably foot. So that's our attack on Laurent. They think this was a 13-foot bull shark, or about a 3-meter bull shark, 3 to 4 meter bull shark, so 10 to 13 feet, but they're not sure. And there was protective nets. They had netting on this beach, but the red flag was out prior to this attack because they found a 2-meter hole, so about a 7-foot hole in the net, and obviously a shark had gotten in there and got a hold of Laurent. So that's our attack on Laurent Chardard. This is an attempt to predate. We're not sure what kind of shark. Okay, now we're going to head over to Inyoni Rocks, and that is in South Africa, and the date is April 30th of 1960. Mike Hely, he is 16 years old. He and 4 other friends are out in the water. Some are doing body surfing and some are doing some bodyboarding. And Mike Hely was doing bodyboarding, but he gave his board to a friend, and he was out there just doing body surfing. So the group of boys are out in the water. It's about 3:30 in the afternoon, and they're 40 to 50 meters from shore, so they're 50 to 60 yards from shore. And they're in 2 meters deep water, so about 7 foot of water. The boys are sitting there, and Hely is further out to sea than the other boys, it sounds like, and he's facing the sea. His friends are around there, and one of them's last name is Hugo, and Hugo, he feels a shark swim between his legs. Something swam between his legs. And seconds later, he sees a huge dorsal fin. He said it was a big dorsal fin, pops up out of the water. So this shark swam right between his legs and popped to the top of the water and went right after his friend. So it went and grabbed onto Hely. Now, Hely didn't see the shark. Like I said, he was facing out to sea. So the shark must have been closer to shore, swimming through his friend's legs, comes out to him, and he says he felt something brush his legs. The whole deal here is the water is greenish. It's a green color, 1 meter visibility at the most. There's even froth on the water, and it's kind of turbid, so it's very sharky water. And you can't see what's going on, and the friend only saw it when the popped to the top of the water. He was able to feel the shark brush against his leg, and he heard shouts from the shore, and that's when he felt pressure. I think it was on his right arm. So the shark grabbed him by the right arm and gave him a really good bite, and now he pops back to the top of the water, yells shark, and he starts swimming ashore. Now the shark is swimming with them, and the shark takes 2 bites on him. It had hit his arm first, and that pushed him up out of the water when the shark hit him in the arm. So it probably brushed his leg, went down a little bit, and then shot up, went away a little bit, and came in with some force and pushed him up out of the water by his arm. And then when he was swimming back in, he got bit in the leg, which made a very small, they said 2 millimeter square opening in his knee, but it actually got a nerve in there. So a very small tooth impression into the knee that ended up catching a nerve and cutting it. But that was the second bite. So he got bit in the arm, he got bit in the leg as he's swimming in, and then the shark got alongside of him and gave him the good bite. It bit him in the side and removed the whole wall. So it did like a Lewis Boren to a lesser extent. A lot shallower in, not all the way into the middle of his chest. It's down his side though. So the rescuers get to him and they bring him in, and I want to read to you what's up with his torso, because it's kind of his torso. The right side of the torso was mauled. The entire lateral abdominal wall was torn away. 2/3 of the small bowel was outside the abdominal cavity and was extensively perforated. So it was not only outside the body, but it seems that the shark teeth got it too. His right kidney was exposed. Most of his right gluteal muscles were removed. The 12th rib was cut, and grooved lesions were made in the crest of the ilium. So the shark had bitten away his side, and his intestines. When the rescuers got him to shore, the guy that was helping him out had to push his intestines back in, and then carried him over to the paramedics to help him out. He ends up surviving this attack, a crazy attack, and just and he ended up with it sounds like defensive wound to one of his hands also. So got a leg, got an arm, got a hand, the fingers of his hand, and it did denude the bones, so it took most of the skin off. And then that bad bite, the last bite to the side. Said this is about a 2.1 meter or 7 foot, just under 7 foot great white shark that got a hold of him. Very unusual for a little guy to do this. This is 2 of these little guys. The one on the surfer lady that grabbed her, and the husband had to beat it off. And now we got this one that went ahead and bit a chunk out of this kid's body. So Mike Hely, 16, he survives. This is an attack. We're going to put this down as an attempt to predate by a 7 foot great white shark. The thing is the shark swam the rest of the way in with him. It bit him the 3 times, and he could feel the shark swimming with him all the way in. So, you know, this little shark was kind of out to get him, I think, and maybe this could have been you know, he was waiting until it got weak and it would go in and finish out the job. But that 3rd bite, I don't see that as being territorial. That's kind of a feeding bite to me. So we're going to put it down as that. An attack, an attempt to predate, 7 foot great white shark, 2 meters. Okay, we're going to finish out our unprovoked attacks over at South Beach, and that is in South Africa. The date is February 11th of 1950. Clive Dumayne, he is 14 years old, and he and some friends are out doing some body surfing. They're in the water. It's 2:30 in the afternoon, Clive himself is about 50 meters from shore, so about 55 yards from shore. He's in 20 feet or 3.5 meter deep water, so 20 feet, 3.5 meters deep water, and it's 2:30, and he is the closest to shore out of his friends, and the shark ends up coming and getting him. Now, his one friend, his last name's Duplessis. Duplessis says that he saw the shark, and it swam between him and his friend, right in between the two of them, and he says the fin was very big on the shark, and it went ahead and it grabbed their buddy, and now Clive disappeared under the water. He pops back to the top of the water temporarily, and then he disappears, never to be seen again. They launched a search. They weren't able to find him. They said this was a 12-foot great white shark, about, just under 4 meter great white shark, and it grabbed him and disappeared. The thing is it went so close to the other kids, and he was closest to the beach. It seems that the shark went from the deep water into the shallowest. The person closest to shore grabbed him and just took him away. And it's always amazing when you get these stories like the one we just did, where it went through the one kid's legs and grabbed the other kid. I mean, how these sharks decide what they're going to do. But all this makes me think that, just like with the H. David Baldrich's work in his analysis that he put through a computer back when he was running it, they came up with, most of the time the shark is seen, it seems to have already scoped out who it's after. A little bit of the time it's circling before they attack. Some of the time it's seen disappearing under the water and then coming up on the person. And the other times it's just making a beeline. These sharks have already looked at who they're going to take. I don't think that they're coming in and willy-nilly going after whatever they need. Willy-nilly, there it is. That's from a word I used to use. You're a machinist, and you do, once you've been doing it for a couple decades, it gets like second nature, programming and everything. You'll just do something because you're just doing it, and I call it willy-nilly. Put in the wrong size hole. You just grabbed a 3/4 drill, but you needed a 1/2-inch hole. Why'd you do that? Well, I just did it. So I call those willy-nilly, but sharks aren't out there willy-nilly grabbing people. I have this thing to where I think that they checked everybody out before they attack them, whether they're divers, whether they're surfers, whoever they are, whatever it is, the shark has already scoped you out and checked it out. Kind of like at war, where you send the scouts out and they come back and they tell you, well, they've got this many troops over here, and they got artillery over here, and they got their cavalry over here, that kind of a thing. I think they scout out the area first. That's our attack on Clive Dumayne, an attack, a predation, a 12-foot great white shark. Okay, before we get into the end of the show, I want to go over a couple things. I wanted to first of all tell you, please like and subscribe. And if you want notifications for more videos like this, then hit that bell notification, and it will notify you when new material comes out. There's 120 or so videos on here now. Most of them are long form videos with about 6 attacks and then an ending segment, and then I have the newer short form in between. So this is going to increase. I'm going to have to get a lot more of this done because I want to get caught up. I want to get my numbers, and I have to get back into my spreadsheet. But if you could, like and subscribe. And the second thing is both stores are open. You got the Etsy store for worldwide, so international shoppers can go to Etsy and buy anything that's on there, and they can have it shipped to them. For the U.S. customers that go to sharkshappen.com, which is the website store, I got a clearance sale going on. As soon as all that's cleared out, and I have quite a bit of shirts and everything left, but as soon as it's gone, that'll be it. Those things are only being made the one time. I'm not remaking them. I'm almost out of triple extra larges and most of the stuff, so once those sizes disappear, that's it. Then I'm just going to do the Etsy store after that. And I wanted to bring up that I just saw Shark Bites had a really good episode on is there great whites over in UK waters, and he explained to me why they're not there. And I know he knows why they're not there, and he says that's why they're not there. But watch the video, it's very good, very entertaining. And then the other thing I wanted to say is, I took a look at my O-Search app, and the great whites, man, they are they have the coast, the east coast of the United States is surrounded, and it wraps all the way around the Keys, all the way around Florida and the Keys into the Gulf. And one of them sharks has made their way all the way over to Mexico across the Gulf. So they're back in the southern waters big time. I have to figure out, because what that temperature is when they start only pinging and they gather up by New York and up there. I'm wondering how hot the water is that keeps them up there when it gets like that. But right now it seems to be the perfect temperature for them, because they're all over the place out there. And in contrast, over in Australia, there's hardly anything pinging. So it must be hotter, colder water than they want right now. Is it winter over there in Australia? Because the tigers are not pinging like they normally do. Normally you got, you know, a handful of tigers pinging along your coast, and then you can go over to Norfolk Island and you can see that there's like 8 to 12 of them when it's probably the right temperature for them, all pinging at the same time. Well, there's just a few of them over there at Norfolk Island or in that area, period. And even Katya, I think it's Katya, Katya, but that's a bull shark that had been hanging around the Cairns area the last few times I have been checking, not pinging. So nobody's pinging over in Australia. So there's shark party over off the east coast and off of Florida, and there's nothing in Australia right now. So we'll get into the end of the show. We're going to do a what were you thinking, and this is, what's the date on this thing? This is a sailor that was in Salinas Bay, Nicaragua back in 1927. An unidentified sailor. A shark was caught. The head was severed, and the shark's head was hung from a hook, from an anvil hook that the boat has. Well, this sailor took and he decided to feel the shark teeth. The shark mouth clamped on his finger, and it severed an artery in there, and he had to get that fixed up. So he got bit by not only a dead shark, he got bit by a shark whose head was severed, and he still got bit. So what were you thinking? Don't touch those sharks. You see that shark on the beach, like mouth open and stuff? Don't touch that mouth. Don't put your foot in the mouth. We're going to get into more dead sharks. This is our dead shark attacks. We've had the land shark, the car shark, the restaurant shark. Now we got dead shark, and I got more of these. But don't mess with those sharks. And the other thing is, on the beaches, if you ever see like a whale that's dead and it's on the beach and it's one of those, don't go by that whale. They end up building up gases inside and they can explode. So a couple of those things you don't want to deal with. But that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll be back in a few more days for a full attack video again, but I hope you join me in between, as we're going to have some more of these short single attack videos and cluster attacks. So until next time, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.